I have, every time that I play, that's the confidence or the belief that I have when I'm on the floor, that I'm the best player on the floor, the best player at that moment. So I have the ultimate confidence.
We've demonstrated a really good ability for us to be able to sign athletes just before they become really, really good. And so we're really pushing, toward that with the impact that like a Stephen has. He believes in the brand, and he identified with us before really we even identified with him. Well, I think the Taiwanese people should take great pride in what they've meant, obviously, to consumer and to the textile industry as a whole. But really, it's thought leadership. I mean, there's one thing that's very unique is the leadership that exists across our entire supply base. There's always a line, there's 6 degrees of separation that always require a reason to come back.
Hi， 观众朋友您好，欢迎来到今天的看板人物。运动是跨国性的全球语言。看到这个场景，您已经猜到了。今天看板人物的主角，他本身不但具有国际的知名度，而他的故事呢，不但跟全球性有关，也跟运动有关。这个集团品牌创立了到今天刚好整整20年，在这段期间，他缔造了一些超越性的传奇话题。比方说，2014的时候，他在美国的市占率凌驾了老牌的 Adidas， 坐上了市场第2大的宝座。另外，我们看一下2015年它的单季财报高达美金8亿元，当然距离老大哥 Nike 是还有一段的距离。可是，在过去3年的时候呢，它成长的幅度是龙头老大哥的2倍。这个集团的创办人24岁的时候，从阿嬷的地下室起家，宛如科技界的车库传奇。而他强力猛攻所缔造的品牌传奇，很多人都津津乐道。今天让我们一起近距离的来听他自己说故事，那就是 Under Armour 集团的执行长 Kevin Plank。Kevin, good to see you here in Taipei. Welcome.
Thank you, Georgina. It's great to be here.
Yeah. How many times have you been here in Taiwan?
So when I started learning how to manufacture outside of the United States, Taiwan was the first place that I came to with a great partner.
Yeah, we knew that.
That we still do business with today called ECLAT. So they've been very important to us. So I was probably here, I said it earlier, probably 15 or 20 times in the first several years. Oh, yeah. So I've been there. It's been a while since I've been back, so it's great to be back. And Taipei looks amazing too. But it's been probably 2 years since I've been here, but it's good to be home.
So I guess Taiwan has always been one stop of your very tight business schedule around Asia every time.
Yes. So our first market outside of the United States was Japan. And so whenever I would come to Asia, I'd make a trip, I'd stop in Tokyo, I'd pick up our partner there, and then he would help me travel throughout Asia. So Taipei was usually the next stop, but always so much innovation, so much fabric innovation, textile innovation, and plus it's a great place.
Wow, you're such a sharp observer.
Yes, yes.
Is every time you stay here so short?
Yes, I don't do anything long, meaning whenever we come through, it's city after city after city, and so when I'm on one of my tours, particularly an Asian tour, it's good to sleep and rest up before, and sleep and rest up after, because when we come through, it's usually it's get in, get to the hotel, put your stuff in the room, get back down to the lobby, go out to dinner. After dinner, you maybe have maybe you spend time, maybe a little karaoke or something, and then you go home, sleep a little bit, wake up early, you work until 2 o'clock, and then you go to the airport, fly to the next city, and then you repeat the same situation over and over.
So would you sometimes wake up in the morning and forget which city you are?
No idea. It's okay. I just know I got to be in the lobby at 7 a.m. So.
Okay. So Kevin, come next time, bring your family, take a vacation so you can fully enjoy the beauty of our island.
No question. We've done that. I did that last year, and we had the family, so we didn't make it down to Taiwan, but I will definitely come back for that.
Yeah, actually, this is the best season for enjoy the hot spring here in Taiwan. Talk about Taiwan. Kevin, I know Taiwan means a lot to you and to the brand because you just mentioned Under Armour first came here for functional fabric to make your first product. And back then, 95% of your functional textile was purchased from Taiwan.
Yes.
And still now, the Taiwanese manufacturers are your long-term suppliers.
Yes.
Therefore, would like to hear your opinions. What do you think in the Taiwanese textile industry in terms of its potential and advantages?
Well, I think the Taiwanese people should take great pride in what they've meant, obviously, to consumer and to the textile industry as a whole. But really, it's thought leadership. I mean, there's one thing that's very unique is the leadership that exists across our entire supply base. There's always a line, there's 6 degrees of separation that always require a reason to come back with someone as a part of the best thinkers in any space seem to have a relationship back with the country of Taiwan, and particularly here in Taipei. We've been working and building incredible partnerships throughout the beginning of Under Armour. It's one of the keys to our success was, first and foremost, I say the 4 pillars of Under Armour. First and foremost, sort of make great product. Secondly, is to tell a great story about our product. Thirdly, is to service our business, and fourth is to build a great team. And number 4, it's probably the most important one, and some of the best teammates that I've built are some of the manufacturing and textile relationships that I have that come from right here in this country.
Yeah, Kevin, we all know you grew up playing football. That's why you have been so frustrated by the sweat, soaked cotton T-shirt after each game. Therefore, you search for functional fabric.
Yes.
In the very beginning of your business, when you made your first piece of sportswear, what is the key technology you had in hand so you have the confidence to make functional shirts at the end?
You're being nice and not telling me that I had a sweating problem, right? But it wasn't a bad sweating problem. There's nothing wrong with my glands. But yes, I did. I sweat, and it's hot outside. And remember, before Under Armour in 1996, athletes never had a choice for what they would wear beneath of their uniforms. It was either a short-sleeve cotton T-shirt in the summer or a long-sleeve cotton T-shirt in the winter. And as an athlete who was always competing against athletes that were bigger and faster and stronger, and just wondering, when I go out for competition, I'm wearing this gray cotton T-shirt, and by the first third of the match is that's completely soaked and it's wet and it's heavy and it's weighing me down, and wondering, why would someone have a better alternative to that soaking wet cotton T-shirt? And the idea was, well, what if on my lower body I always wore synthetic shorts that I would wear for competition, kind of like a compression short. But what if I wore something like that in the upper body and wore snug, kind of like a second skin, and it naturally wouldn't hold the moisture, and more importantly, wouldn't hold the weight. It allowed you to function and be more free as an athlete and not be constricted and weighed down. And so I thought there had to be a better alternative, and that's where the idea from Under Armour really came from.
Yeah, Under Armour, this brand was founded in 1996, 30 years later than Nike. Back then, how dared you to create your own sports brand against such a global leading giant, which had been, we could say, dominating the sportswear market?
Well, first of all, I never started Under Armour, and I get a lot as people say, can you believe it? Is it amazing? Do you pinch yourself? And one of the answers that I always give is, I never knew exactly what Under Armour would look like 20 years later as we sit here in our 20th year. And I never had this big grand vision. I just never believed it couldn't happen. What I thought is that, tomorrow is going to be better than today. Next week better than last week, next month, next year, this year. And that type of approach is that so many people, I think they spend time putting so much anxiety on themselves of, I've got to come up with, what's the big idea? What's this masterful thing that I'm going to do? And for me, it was about, as an athlete, is that I just wanted to solve a problem. I just wanted to make a better T-shirt for football players. And then as I went out and didn't know anything about manufacturing and said, I've heard of this place called the Garment District in New York City, and I just drove up to 34th and 7th Avenue, parked my car, and walked around and found a manufacturer, and I made up some shirts, and then I tried them on my teammates, and they liked them. And then of the teammates I tried them on, not just football players, but one also played baseball too. And the baseball players started wearing them. And then of the baseball players, the lacrosse players. And then the girlfriends of one of the lacrosse players, and she played lacrosse. And I realized this wasn't just an individual idea, but it had all this bandwidth and all this growth. And I just never prevented myself from thinking how big the company could be. And that was the most important thing, is that idea, that mantra that lives for Under Armour is called I Will. And, you know, it's there for a reason, is that it was up to no one else except for me to believe that, you know, why not us?
Wow, there are so much similarity between entrepreneur spirit and excellent athlete spirit.
Yes.
It's the same. It's the same.
Very much.
Kevin, you will always represent the core value of your brand, and you have also signed so many outstanding athletes for celebrity endorsement.
Yes.
The NBA two-time MVP Stephen Curry is
Yes.
absolutely one of the most talked about person in sports this year.
Yes.
How did you persuade Curry to switch to Under Armour for your brand ambassador?
You know, one of the things we say is that we've had a pretty amazing run with athletes, from 4 reigning MVPs of major sports leagues, which was the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NHL, and of course Stephen in the NBA, plus the PGA Player of the Year in Jordan Spieth. So Under Armour's had an amazing run with athletes and assets. And the one consistent theme that rings true for all of them is that they all remain, they're better people than they are athletes, if you can even imagine that. And we've demonstrated a really good ability for us to be able to sign athletes just before they become really, really good. And so we're really pushing, you know, toward that with the impact that like a Stephen has. You know, he believed in the brand, and he identified with us before really we even identified with him.
Wow. Well, I know that 1 year after you signed Stephen Curry, the global sale jumped to 350%.
Yes.
And Curry's signature shoes also many NBA huge stars, superstars.
Yes.
However, I heard people always say that Curry is not a typical NBA fierce and aggressive players in terms of his image. Yeah. What do you see in Curry? What is the unique charm of Curry that makes so many people love him?
So first of all, Stephen Curry has made our company look incredibly smart, right? And just like wind up Stephen, let him go do what he does, which is inspires people, is a great teammate, as well as he scores a lot of points and wins a lot of games. So I think that, you know, there's no one, you know, when you think about like the impact of having a great athlete, of having a great asset like that, there was no one formula. And I do believe that, you know, when we've demonstrated a real high likelihood to our ability to sign athletes as they get great. No one had heard of Jordan Spieth before we signed him.
Oh, really? Oh.
Stephen Curry, I mean, we signed him at 19 years old coming out. Stephen Curry, again, was another athlete who was someone that, you know, the world hadn't really gotten to know Stephen Curry. He hadn't made his first All-Star team until we signed him. And Andy Murray, you know, is someone that, you know, I think probably hadn't had as much support as he could have. And now Andy coming off a Wimbledon win, as well as heading into the US Open. We'll see how he finishes there. And then Michael Phelps was, again, somebody I think that people had passed on before going into the Rio Games. So I do believe that there's a DNA in our brand that, number one, it allows athletes to believe in themselves. Is that so often, look, we all have anxiety, we all have self-doubt, we all have these feelings of emotion. But when you know that someone believes in you, like what we say is, and like that idea is something which is so, it's so real, it's so human, it's so aspirational, and frankly, it's so Under Armour, and that's what comes through from our company, our brand, and the products that we put out there for consumers.
引颈期盼，满满的球迷聚集在 Under Armour 大安旗舰店外，不少人身上穿的、手上拿的是 Curry 的30号球衣，即使进不去，也希望有机会看到本尊。Curry 一现身，店内工作人员也疯狂。这场活动，他和2位幸运小粉丝见面，也是 Curry 宝岛初体验，第一次和台湾媒体互动。 这时 UA 的创办人 Kevin Plank 站在角落，拿着手机录影，捕捉大家对 Curry 的热爱。UA 之于 Curry 之于 UA， 彼此是对方的千里马和伯乐。
And all along the way, you look at the last 13 years, really put us in a position to have someone as special as Stephen. And it was like all these things coming together at one moment in time that allowed for, I think, our product to be at the right place at the right time. It's been a pretty special thing for the brand.
Curry 代言的球鞋，今年销售额预估将高达$1.6亿，可能超越所有现役篮球员。全球席卷的 Curry 热潮，让 UA 这个20岁的年轻运动品牌备受注目。 其实过去 Curry 是知名运动品牌的球员，但似乎对他兴趣缺缺，出现了简报中把 Stephen Curry 拼成 Stephen Curry 这样的错误。2013年合约到期时，对方拒绝了 Curry 的报价，又为看准时机签下他。
说他们并不是说别人不要什么我去捡他，其实并不是这个样子。他其实早就有自己的规划，而且在雷达幕以下看到他们想要的人。因为其实我为什么说雷达幕以下呢？因为如果是在雷达幕以上的球员的话，那基本上大型品牌公司就会先把他抢走，而且用非常广大的资源来跟你竞争。
所谓雷达幕以下的球员，指的是 Curry 的隐性天分，像是他的眼手协调、传球投篮的准确度。Curry 不是用弹跳力多好、冲撞力量多大，或是大肌肉这样的显性天分吸睛。以为慧眼识英雄，其实 Curry 跟品牌特性和崛起有着相似的基因。脸色红润、笑眯眯的 Kevin Plank 讲话手势不少，非常开朗。他的胸背相当厚实，因为 Kevin Plank 是运动员出身，美式足球队长。自己经验棉 T 黏哒哒的感觉，决定开发新材质，就在祖母家的地下室创业，说他是流汗耕耘，20年收割，一点也没错。
就我们在运动的过程中，头是这个热量排出最多的，再来就是脊椎，所以我们就会在这个脊椎这边让它这个通风啊会更好一点。我想我们创办人因为是运动员出身嘛，那其实所有的运动员都一样，他大概花99%的时间在做训练，事实上上场只占了1%。那所以所有的 training 呢是所有运动的最根本。
Kevin Plank 所有产品全是机能衣，从一开始咬定训练系列，区隔前辈品牌，可能偏向球场外，甚至发展日常生活的休闲服。Kevin Plank 专心经营专业运动的款项。口白不多，甚至没有说一句话的广告，想要呈现的就是运动员绝大部分时间都是在跟意志力挑战的自我训练。所以 Kevin Plank 选择代言人，比起挑选天生王者型的英雄，更青睐苦练、心理素质坚强的人。老板的运动员背景决定了价值取向。对 Kevin Plank 来说，台湾无疑是他的福地，没有台湾的供应商，就没有稳定的机能布料。机器旁边的白板特别写着工单有 UA， 都需要剪布块、测雨林，显示有多慎重。这是得力台南工厂 UA 合作10年，从 UA 还不那么知名时就一起成长。
它有规定一个标准值，那我们要每一缸控制到那样子的标准，
都要控制在那个范围。
对，啊，就是它特别捕摸啊。
对颜色要求严格，马虎不得。当客户不断研发各种机能布，台湾的 UA 供应商说，只为了一个特殊的染剂颜色，能达到美国那边的要求。
我们当初投入了许多的成本，跟 UA 去合作开发这个冷黑的技术。那因为它是特殊的染料，所以呢，我们一再实验，几乎是每生产2码就丢1码的这个成本在投入。那我们也实验了1年。
Under Armour 的中文意思是藏身于铠甲之下，那些看不到的细节、机能布的研发，更或是顶尖运动员日积月累扎实训练，难以被外界窥视，却是一步一脚印，才能在近乎肉搏的全球市场上踩出自己的一条大道。每一个国际性品牌靠的不是表面上花大钱行销而已，而是骨子里日新又新的翻转，才能全球插旗。
Yeah, Kevin, when we talk about the special personal trait of an outstanding athlete, not many football players can successfully turn to successful entrepreneur like you. You started your business without enough money for marketing, so you just said you test your functional shirts on ex-team members and then test on others. That's how you do the marketing.
Right.
Now Under Armour is globally operating. How do you keep on consumer experience that you value so much?
Right. You know, when I started the company, I was the consumer. And it was very simple, sitting in my grandmother's basement in a little row house in Washington,
Yeah,
D.C.
we heard that story. What would it be like?
Wow. You know, I didn't know any better. Again, I didn't set out to build a global brand. I set out to make the world's greatest T-shirt for football players. And then watching sort of that it evolved from, I'm going to make the world's greatest short sleeve T-shirt. And then the need was, well, geez, it's not just hot because the season goes from warm weather into cold weather. So do we have a long sleeve version? And then do we have a rain version? And then, you know, we love the tops. Do you make something in the shorts? And
It's
not
just expanding.
And then I don't just love compression, but I love loose as well. And so it's this evolution of, number one, listening to the consumer at every step and making sure, and as we've grown, as now I turned 40, our company turns 20, and I turned 44 this year, you know, I'm not as close to that consumer. So the benefit I have is having partners like Stephen Curry, partners like Tom Brady, partners like Jordan Spieth, partners like Michael Phelps, and partners like Andy Murray, who are keeping us youthful and helping us understand what the athlete, what to make to be the very best athlete, to be the best at what you do. We can infuse that into every product that we build. And with that, we can hopefully infuse a bit of hope and inspiration as well that allows little kids to go like this.
I see. But you still keep yourself as close as you can be to the customer, right? Of course.
You can never be too close to the customer. And that's why having stores like this, you know, is an amazing experience for us of getting real-time feedback and information. And we do that through both an amazing set of wholesale partners that we have around the world, but also when we can have a direct conversation with the consumer. There's nothing like hearing it for yourself.
There's a slogan from one successful Under Armour advertising campaign saying, "You are repeatedly what you do when things get hard." Since the launch of Under Armour, have you ever encountered any development bottleneck? And how did you lead your team to take the extra mile and eventually pull through the crisis?
Yes, I mean, we've had several of them. I'll give you a good one. When we first tried getting into the women's business, this is back in, company started in 1996, this is 2002. We were going to launch our first women's line, and this became from an overwhelming demand. We were selling men's products, but all of a sudden we noticed the smaller sizes of our men's product began to sell. And we had a demand from our customers, which were mostly wholesalers, and they said, "Can you make women's?" I said, "Yeah, we can make women's." And we made, you know, so I said, "We're going to come out with our first women's line. Nothing complicated. A women's top, a women's short, sport bra, you know, a pair of leggings." It wasn't very complicated. And as we went through this and we were evaluating what are the right products to make, it was, at the time, I think it was 12 men sitting around a table anticipating what our wives or girlfriends might have actually liked. And so we went out, we built this product, we had it ready to ship, and it was going to be in the, I think, the middle of 2003. And it was a big deal, middle of 2002. And we were on our way to, I think, a $20 or $50 million company that year. And we had about $1 million worth of product, of cost good product that we were going to sell in the market.
Wow.
And I got the product there, we were ready to ship it out, and then I looked at it. And I recognized that what we had actually done with this product, it was incredibly masculine, it was incredibly like rough, it like wasn't like soft, it looked like a bunch of boys had basically made women's product. And this idea of shrink it and pink it that we had was not really going,
terrible.
Shrink it and pink it would not work. And so we ended up burning all that product.
Burning it, actually?
Burning it and taking a hit, because the one thing we realized is that some of the best decisions we've made as a company are the ones we didn't screw up. You know, we hadn't violated the trust of that female consumer. And if we'd shipped that product, it probably wouldn't have been everything that she would have wanted. And that was protecting the brand. Everything comes back to the brand. You know, it's not just we can charge a little more because Stephen Curry happens to be a hot athlete and we can sell more for his shoe. It's like the build that's in that shoe, it's a fair and reasonable price. The consumer has an expectation of what they're going to get from the Under Armour brand.
Well, this experience is so impressive. Kevin, when it comes to entrepreneurial spirit, what hasn't changed ever since the launch?
I think that being an entrepreneur, you know, it's a mindset, it's an attitude, and it's one that, you know, we really are, you know, incredibly proud of. I mean, I think that I love what I do. I mean, I love my company. I mean, I love my city where we're headquartered. I love the headquarters we have all over the world. And you can't just say that. It's got to be felt. And I love competition. You know, I love the ability to compete against the biggest and the best. Is that we didn't get in this to be a nice little local or regional or national brand. We got in this to be the next great global brand. And when we do that, we've constantly found ways to be able to go for it with betting the right amount. You know, we didn't just wake up one day and say, we deserve to be a global brand. Or they have so many other resources, they have so many other assets, they have such a bigger budget. It's finding ways of, like, when we got in the partnership with Stephen, it's when, you know, we could afford to get in the partnership with Stephen. When we got in the partnership of our other athletes, it's that we've always played a game big enough. And what you're seeing is a bigger presence in Asia is because we've earned the right to create a bigger presence. And this isn't, you know, this company wasn't handed down. There's nobody that I can ask for a bigger check. You know, all we can do is continue to run and operate our business the way that we know how to today. Of thinking to myself, you know, did I pick the right idea? Have I wasted all this money? Now I'm broke, what am I going to do? And that validation of, you know, opening that envelope and seeing that money there, it was one of those moments that I said to myself, I'll never doubt what I'm doing ever again, and I know I'm on the right path, and I know this is meant to be.
I've heard you describe so-called darkness moment in your life. To be brief, the episode was you went to a casino in Atlantic City to
Yes.
try your luck in order to pay off a $6,000 debt.
Yes.
But however, things turned out against your expectation, and eventually you don't even have money to pay the highway toll and broke down in front of the toll collector. What did you get out of the experience?
Not the $2.25 it cost me to get through.
Really?
So, it was a true story. It was a Friday afternoon, and I had to make payroll the next Monday, and I knew I didn't have enough money in the checking account, the amount of checks that I had outstanding versus what was in my account balance. And so on that Friday afternoon at 2 p.m. at 1:59 p.m.
You
I went to the
remember
bank.
so clearly?
I took everything out. I think I took about $1,000 out of the checking account, and I needed to come home with at least $4,000. And I took the $1,000 out and drove up to Atlantic City, and I started playing blackjack. And anybody who's ever gambled before, I had the money, and I started losing the money, and I was getting worried. And all of a sudden, I started coming back with the money. And the next thing you know, I was up like $4,500. So I had all the money that I needed to cover the checks, and I was like, great. I was just about to leave, and then I said, you know what? I'm going to play one more hand.
Oh, come on.
And so I put I needed $4,000. I put $500 down for one more hand. And then, of course, the dealer gave me 2 8s. And then so I had to split the card. So I had to put another $500 up. And then the dealer gave me a 3. And then I had, of course, to double down. And then I was like, ah. And then I ended up losing the hand. And then I came back. It's a classic story of watching basically lost everything. And in driving home after that trip, I didn't have enough money for the toll. And I remember sitting there. And when you could say you're broke. And there's one thing to be broke and out of money. It's another thing to be out of money to the point where there's not even the change in your car is like there wasn't enough to cover a $2.25 toll. And so I remember the toll booth operator coming out, taking my license, copying my license plate down, and asking me to, I just send a ticket in. It was the most embarrassing thing in my life. And I remember I went to see my mother after that, and because I actually needed a meal. And my mother's a wonderful woman, but she's not the greatest cook either. And in going to her house was truly the end of the line for me. And I remember walking in her house and asking, is because the power of positive, the power of will and belief was so important, and it came through even then. And I remember my mom asking me and saying, how's everything going? You know, how's Under Armour doing? And I remember saying, it's doing fine, Mom, why? And everybody, anything positive you tell someone about your business, they'll tell 2 to 3 people. Anything
That's
negative,
right, that's
they'll tell 10 to 12 people. And so the last thing I ever wanted was
So
a
true.
snowball effect. And I remember I walked out of her house and I didn't ask for anything, and I just said, you know, I'm going to figure it out. I don't know how, but I'm going to figure something out. And after that, I drove right to the post office and I went and checked my P.O. box in my mail. And in my mail that afternoon, I had an institutional check from Georgia Tech University, one of the first schools that I'd sold. They hadn't paid in over a year, and the check, for whatever reason, for $7,000 just came through. And like the amount of self-doubt that led me to that moment of thinking to myself, you know, Did I pick the right idea? Have I wasted all this money? Now I'm broke. What am I going to do? And that validation of opening that envelope and seeing that money there, it was one of those moments that I said to myself, I'll never doubt what I'm doing ever again, and I know I'm on the right path, and I know this is meant to be.
Gladly, it's all the past.
Yes.
Kevin, I heard people said, back to the brand, the company, I heard people say Under Armour is actually a stills technology company. Would you agree with that?
No question.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about the technology with a focus on your innovative solution?
So we recently made several acquisitions over the last 3 years, establishing what we've coined the phrase connected fitness. And it's the world's largest connected fitness community ever assembled. So today we have over 175 million members, registered users on our connected fitness platform between the 3 apps of Map My Fitness, which is Map My Run, Map My Ride. It's like I'm gonna go for a jog or a bike ride. I hit start on my phone. It tracks me, tells me how far, tells me the splits when I go at the different distances. Another one is called MyFitnessPal, which is a food logging nutrition site. And it's one of the largest in the world as well. And then the other company called Endomondo, which is the European version of Map My Fitness. And they all merge in this one product we have called. And the idea here is that I think that a brand's job is to give you things, number one, that you never knew that you needed. And then once you have them, wonder how you ever live without them. And you can think about the simple things in life. And for the older of us out there, is remember life before remote control on a television. Remember life before we actually had cell phones. And how would you get through the day without making a phone call or seeing your mail?
That's right.
And you can't imagine living without it now. And I think of our own health as a path toward that, a vehicle toward that, where I can't believe that the amount of information we have on our most important asset, our own health and fitness, we have the least information about. We rely on, I know more about my car than I do my own body, is that I can go to, I can get in my car and tell me how much gas, how much oil, how much tire pressure. But if you ask me about my own health, I'm relying on the impact or the feedback of a doctor from a doctor's visit I made every 12, 18, or 24 months. And you just have to wonder, why do we accept that? Why do we walk around and wait for our bodies to break down and then go see a doctor? And so what we believe is that data is that next great frontier for us, is that data is the new oil of life. And with last year alone having over 2 billion workouts logged into our database, over 8 billion foods logged into our database, it's the largest database of food ever assembled in the history of mankind. We have every country on the planet logging in. And today, even across the 4 apps that we now have, we have over 100,000 downloads happening every single day. Wow. So we believe this is giving us incredible scale to the tune of over 175 million people.
Taiwan, ni hao. Look at this. This is amazing. This is my first time to Taiwan, to Taipei, so I'm excited to be here, and we're going to have a lot of fun today.
一开口嗨翻全场，这一晚新庄体育馆涌进超过5000位球迷，为了一睹 Stephen Curry 的魅力。
他希望
搞笑单膝下跪或是防守时顽皮地抱住对手的腰 ，Curry 笑起来很可爱，被球迷称为“萌神娃娃脸刺客”。外表偶像派，看起来没什么杀伤力，但这几年他在 NBA 缔造很多杀手级的纪录。Curry 连2年夺得 MVP， 这季是全票通过的年度 MVP， 创 NBA 史上第1人。今年更带领勇士队拿下73胜，打破20年前 Michael Jordan 率公牛队72胜的纪录。他可以在球场中央有各队 logo 的地方出手3分球得分，外界因此为 Curry 创造一个新名词 logo shot。不少人说他改变了一整个世代的打球模式。
I can't jump very high, so I had to find a different way to score. But mixing ball handling and shooting seamless, and everything kind of a rhythm to it, and just have an imagination for the things that I can do.
知道自己先天上的弱点 ，Curry 刻意拉远投篮的距离，他打破跳投球队难赢总冠军的刻板印象。
在80、90年代的时候 ，NBA 的篮球是在看2人篮球 （pick and roll 篮球）、1对1篮球，而且是很多的防守重于进攻的想法。现在的篮球变成攻局优于防守，快速的球风、快速的投篮、快速的投外线，都成为现在的风潮。那这个风潮，我觉得就是 Steph Curry 开始引起的。
我出生的时候因为一些意外，所以我的右手没有办法跟正常人一样，所以我从小到大打球都只能靠一只手。
听到小球迷只靠一只手打篮球的故事 ，Curry 立刻起身移开椅子，站着专心听他说，表达自己的认真。
我来帮你先翻译，先不紧张，因为他想说。
小朋友看到大球星紧张到说不出话来 ，Curry 送上拥抱，在全身扭动甩手，像在热身，希望他能放轻松，逗得大家哈哈大笑。这些举动传递了 Curry 的暖男性格，拉近和粉丝的距离。他191公分的身高，在常人充斥的 NBA 世界里，并没有特别优势，更不是肌肉棒子路线。从亲民的个性到外形，让大家觉得 Curry 和一般人的距离很靠近。
那 Steph Curry 只是他的隐性天分非常的高，那 Michael Jordan 他的显性天分非常高。Michael Jordan 一看就知道，肌肉像石头一样，跳得特别高，跑得特别快。我觉得 Steph Curry 跟他是完全不一样的人。因为 Steph Curry 代表的是不是 jump man， 而是 every man。
Curry gets ahead again, no help. Curry again. Here's Curry. Nice pass to Allison, and he rings the bell.
没有惊人爆发力，身材单薄。Curry 高中毕业时没有大学篮球名校给他奖学金，从学生时代到 NBA 殿堂，甚至连运动品牌挑选球星都常常以貌取人，低估了他的实力。但其实 Curry 被盛赞为联盟最佳的眼手协调，很多人更公认 Curry 是史上最强的远距离3分神射手。每天不间断地练投几百颗3分球，甚至上千颗，锻炼出只需要0.4秒的绝快出手。Curry 从小到大的篮球路看似平凡，他用天赋、苦练还有旺盛企图心，持续创下不平凡的 Curry 障碍。这次旋风式来台，他的风采和感染力，留下有为者亦若是的最有力激励。
And Kevin, in terms of management, there are so many things that you are concerned of. What are the things that you would put the majority of your time in?
So it's hard. I like to spend. I mentioned the 4 pillars of Under Armour: product, story, service, team. And if I'm doing it right, I'm really spending my time around those. And it's hard because then all of a sudden you're a public company and you have shareholders and you get pulled from this direction or that direction. But this trip is a great example of it. I get to spend time in hearing from athletes of how they love their product. We get to spend time like now telling the story of Under Armour, something I love. I'm going to spend tomorrow we have our top 6 largest vendors are going to be meeting us tomorrow here in Taiwan, and we're going to go through a review on how are we servicing, how are we really meeting the expectation of our consumer, but also are we being a good partner, are we being to our vendor base, and that is the key for any business is in order for it to be a win for me, you must lose, and I've dealt with people and organizations like that, and the ones that are the best is that there truly is the ability for a win-win situation, and so what I found is that when you find those kind of partnerships. The idea of trusting more and loving more is important in partnership. And if you can't find both of those 2 things, you probably shouldn't be doing business with them. And the fourth and most importantly is finding people. And I think I've had 3 interviews on this trip. I've welcomed 2 new senior executives that are just joining our team, a new head of sourcing, our new CMO as well. And again, professionals and really great and beautiful people that are going to make a great addition to our company and to the consumers that love Under Armour.
Kevin, do you still have time for exercise? What is your exercise plan like? I guess many UA fans would like to know about.
Well, I love to eat. and I love food. So yes, exercise is a necessary part of my routine. But I try to train at least 4 to 5 days a week. I have someone who comes over and works out with me. So I have a trainer that I work out with a couple days a week. And then I like to run 5 miles once a week. Like at least one day, in one stretch. I like to know that I can run 5 miles if I had to. So,
wow.
But I do different things, Jacob's ladder and rowing machines, things like that. But when I travel, I love to just run. I love to run a city. I love to feel a city. I like testing our product and trying our shoes. But there's nothing like when you go to a new city and you get to really see and feel and understand the culture and the people.
Kevin, you grew up with 4 elder brothers, right? Does that make you a more tough, competitive, or tolerant person? What kind of experience does that have on you?
I mean, the youngest of 5 boys meant that babysitting in my house was my brothers grabbing me and putting me by my underwear on a hook and hanging me on a doorknob or something.
You are their toy, huh?
Yes, I was their whipping boy to an extent. But that was okay. It taught me a lot, and I learned that I didn't like being in that position. And so I thought, you know, it gave me a bit of a chip on my shoulder too, and it had me with the I'm going to show them someday. And it had me with I didn't like sitting at the little table when I go home for family events. Is that I want to sit at the big table, and I think that idea is part of the. You know, it's part of the brand, the culture, the bravado of Under Armour that is very much about leaning forward and winning and competing and not accepting where you are and overcoming and saying, you may know me as the little brother, but I don't want to be the little brother. I want to be at the big table. And that attitude is is a very important personality trait, and I think comes through even with the Under Armour brand today.
Thanks for all those positive influence from your brothers.
Yeah, it hurt, but yes, it worked out.
Kevin, now we are at the Taiwan flagship store of Under Armour.
Yes.
The brand was established in 1996, and after 2 years, it entered Japan, and 3 years ago, it came to Taiwan. How important is Asia market in your global strategy?
It's critical. You know, everything, you know, there's a lot of heat that's coming off of China, for instance. But as I mentioned here in Taiwan, thought leadership is very important. But I don't think you can build an Asian strategy without a few of the important building blocks. And so Japan was very important to that. China, of course, is a massive part of that. And I do think that, you know, Southern Asia is very, very important to that as well. And so we found, I think, great momentum is, you know, what's amazing to me is, you know, showing up here with Stephen Curry and seeing the reaction from fans and how much they love seeing him. And like, you know, I don't know if we didn't imagine this reaction, but to see the impact the NBA has here as much as our stars do. You know, the ambition for Under Armour is to build a global company, and I define that by where our revenue size will be greater outside of our home country than within it. And we have a ways to go for that to happen. You know, I think we recorded 13% international revenues a year ago. That number will be up. We were up 68% in the most recent quarter international. And you know, it's quickly growing outside the US, but we want to be the next great global brand. The ambition of the company, and that may sound easier to hear people say that, and I understand how big of a deal it is for me to say that. And I don't say it hopefully with arrogance as much as I say it with a confidence. If I'm a relatively young man, I've got
Of course you are.
I got a great ambition to do this for a really long time. I think that we have an incredible point of view that is not being served to the consumer today. And as long as we can do that, I think we're well within our right to maintain and frankly drive that global ambition that we have of an attitude and idea of how great we can be. I think being an athlete is a mindset, and it's one that I embrace and bring to work every single day. You know, I still look at and think of myself as an athlete. None of that has changed. And I bring that to work, and it comes through, I think, in the competition we have, is that, you know, there's always an athlete or a team that has more resources, and they have, you know, maybe more talent, or they have more this or more that. And you have to envision for yourself how you can get there.
Kevin, now, last but not least, there are so many excellent athletes around the world trying to find their places after retirement. Would you like to share your secret of success to the Taiwanese young athletes?
I think being an athlete is a mindset, and it's one that I embrace and bring to work every single day. You know, I still look at and think of myself as an athlete. None of that has changed. And I bring that to work, and it comes through, I think, in the competition we have, is that, you know, there's always an athlete or a team that has more resources, and they have, you know, maybe more talent, or they have more this or more that. And you have to envision for yourself how you can get there. The skills that are honed as being an athlete are things that you should not leave for the athletic field. It's something that you should bring to your schoolwork. It's something that you should bring to your after-school job. It's things that you should bring beyond the fact where people show up in arenas and cheer or clap for you. You know, it's that mentality that is, you know, so incredibly Under Armour. You know, in my office, and I keep these whiteboards, and my whiteboards, they define my culture of the company. And whiteboards are what you would typically find in a coach's office, and where they're writing and they use the scribble on them, the grease boards and things. And in my office, there's 3 whiteboards across, and there are 5 whiteboards deep. And in there, each panel has a different thing, and one is an org chart when you move people up, and you move people over, and you move people down, you move people off. And then you remember, no, they're not so bad, and you put them back on, and so like you'll move things from the org charts to like the sayings of Under Armour to define our culture. And they say things like overpromise and deliver, dictate the tempo, walk with a purpose, done, done, done. And like, what does that mean? You know, like these are very sports-driven things, because my coaches had whiteboards like that. And so I brought that to my company. I thought, what are the lessons from whiteboards? And you hear coaches would have, you know, slogans and things that they would say. But they really are defining of our company. Like, done, done, done is what a coach would expect you to do, is that when you exercise, you train, that you do it all the way through. You didn't get it done. You didn't get it done, but you got it done, 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 like all the way through. And that's something which is a very incredibly Under Armour idea and message that comes out and translates through in everything that we do, you know, as a brand and as a company. And to all the young athletes out there, you're learning so many skills that you think may just be appropriate to the given sport, and whether it's baseball or basketball or football, soccer, there's such a corollary between success in athletics and success in the field. And don't sell yourself short with just thinking about yourself as an athlete. The skills that you have from knowing what it's like to feel pressure, to feel competition, to have to prepare for something, for training, it's all the same things that go into running and being a part of a great business.
Thank you so much for sharing the precious experience and vision.
Yes.
Of course, and the brand story. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We wish you much prosperity in the future and introducing more new technology to the world.
Thank you. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.